What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly updates. There's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, and before I get into the news this week, I briefly want to announce that I am going to be doing a live stream here, hopefully this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time is the plan, and so if you can join, definitely do. We'll be talking more about the automotive industry. I'll be answering a lot of your questions and just talking cars, so come hang out with us if you can. But anyway, getting into the news this week, first off, Chevy has teased the new next generation 2023 Chevy Colorado ZR2, which will be leading the rollout here for all the next generation Colorados whenever it debuts on July 28th. In the meantime, though, here Chevy has shown us quite a bit here in this new teaser, including a really clear look at most of the front end, where it looks very bold and aggressive with that Safari bar, but also looks a lot like a Ford Explorer, in my opinion, in the front there. That new Explorer kind of has very similar headlights and grille and stuff. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Out back, though, it looks like a shrunken down version of the Silverado with the taillights and the tailgate both looking, very similar, just a little bit smaller, and I think that looks very good and distinctive. We also can see there's a sports bar mounted there to the bed in the side shots, and so yeah, it all looks really promising. We only have about a month longer to wait for all the details, but the only one rumor we have been hearing is that the ZR2 could potentially be powered by the 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that the Silverado runs, and if so, that would be 310 horsepower but 430 pound-feet of torque, which would really be a nice strong motor here. So we'll see if that's what they end up using or what the plans are here, but very interesting to get that teaser. BMW this week has fully revealed the 2023 BMW M3 Touring, which is the wagon version here, and it's the first ever wagon version of the M3, and it's so awesome that it almost makes me want to forgive the ugly grille until I get to the end of this story, where we have some bad news about the M3 Touring that still makes me bitter at BMW. So it only comes in competition trim, meaning it gets the 503 horsepower version of the 3-liter twin turbo inline 6, the 8-speed automatic and all-wheel drive all bundled together there. Unfortunately, there's no manual offered or rear-wheel drive for the Touring version here, although a rear-wheel drive mode is available in the all-wheel drive system, but no strictly manual rear-wheel drive version like the base M3 has. What you do get, though, is way more practicality with 53 cubic feet of space in the rear there, while also still doing a 3.6 seconds 0 to 60, which is just 0.1 seconds slower. It also gets all the other stuff from an M3 competition as well. Inside, it gets the new infotainment and gauge screens that all 2023 3 Series cars are going to be getting as well. Another cool touch is that the rear glass actually opens independent of the hatch for easier access for smaller items, which is kind of a retro touch. There are some modern vehicles that do that, but not a whole lot of them, so that's a nice inclusion. But here comes the big bummer, is that it's being sold basically everywhere except North America. So it'll be sold in Europe, in the UK, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and even New Zealand, which goes to show that this must just be a legalization thing where, since they don't offer the wagon version of the 3 Series here in the States, then they can't offer this M3 version either. And it's kind of a bummer. Even Audi, I mean, yes, I guess, maybe the A6 or Audi Allroad kind of allowed them to bring in the R6 Avant, but Audi went to the trouble of bringing in the RS6 Avant. And surely, there would be more people, even for the wagon version of the M3, I feel like there has to be more people that would go for a regular wagon 3 Series than would go for them in New Zealand. No offense to New Zealanders, but it's a pretty small country. It's just kind of crazy that, it's justified for New Zealand, but in the US, where I think there would be a decent amount of enthusiasts that would buy this M3 wagon, for some reason, BMW is not sending it here to us. So I know legalization can be expensive, but again, Audi did it with the RS6 Avant and kind of ruined that excuse for all the other car companies that were like, oh, well, it's kind of expensive and won't sell enough. Audi proved them wrong, and so anyway, at least Audi continues to be awesome with the R6 Avant, which you can get here in the United States, at least for now. Yeah, so anyway, interesting to see that M3 Touring. It's still awesome, though. It looks great. I'm glad the rest of the world is going to enjoy it. It's just a little bit of a bummer that we'll have to watch everyone else having fun from afar. But anyway, cool to see that. Honda this week has yet again teased the next generation CR-V, and this time they're giving us a very clear look at basically the whole dashboard and the entire interior here before the full reveal of this vehicle on July 12th. So, as you can see, the interior looks to borrow most of its design from the Civic and the new HR-V, which is kind of predictable in a way, but I mean, the current gen CR-V has a unique interior compared to the Civic, so it'll be interesting, especially compared to the HR-Vs, which is now also Civic-based. I believe the new CR-V will also be Civic-based. I could be wrong there, but It's just going to be kind of, an interesting overlap here where if CRV and HRV have the same interiors, obviously they'll look a little different, of course, a lot different. It's going to seem based on the teasers, but it's just going to be a lot of overlap, I think. You would think the CRV would get a nicer, more unique interior. I mean, I love the new Civic interior, but just kind of shocking. It is basically copy and pasting. I don't know if they're just going to use that interior on every single Honda going forward, and they're all going to have the same exact dashboard or what. But it's a good design. It's just, a little different for Honda. Usually they have unique designs for the interiors on all their vehicles. But anyway, still would be a really great improvement over the old CRV interior with the infotainment system that's not great and, all that. So anyway, interesting to see that. And again, we'll see the full thing here in just a couple of weeks. Another vehicle that's rumored to be debuting the same week is the Hyundai Ioniq 6, which is the sleek electric sedan based on the Prophecy concept. And so the Korean car blog is reporting that it will be debuting on July 14th at the Busan Motor Show. And so supposedly it was going to be arriving sooner, but then I guess at the last minute they sent it back for some changes to make the front end a little more aerodynamic to maximize range, supposedly. That's the rumor, at least. So it'll get a little bit of a tweaked bumper there. But so we'll see what Hyundai has cooked up. I'm excited to see, for reveal. Hopefully we only have a couple of weeks to wait for that as well. But I think it's going to be pretty cool if it's basically like a budget version of a Porsche Taycan, the way they're kind of approaching it. Sounds great to me. So we'll see how that turns out. But for another Hyundai rumor here this week, it's not so great. The South Korean publication Hank Young claims that Hyundai will be ending production of the Veloster N in July, which is a bummer. And I will continue to follow this and wait until it's actually officially confirmed. But this certainly makes sense since the N is the last version of the Veloster in production. There is no regular 2022 Velosters at all. So, it's not a surprise, but I still want to hang on hope that maybe they'll keep this around for a few months longer. We'll have to see. But supposedly the reason is they're going to be making room at the plant for the next generation version of the Kona, and I guess this plant builds currently the Veloster N and the Kona, and they want to build more Konas, and they think the next generation version is going to have even more sales than the current generation, so they want to just wipe out the Veloster, which they're probably not selling a whole lot of Veloster Ns, and way more Konas, and it's just one of those things. So so we'll see how soon this turns out to be true, but I mean, it sounds like, the Veloster N is certainly living on borrowed time, especially now we have the launch for N, which is, going to be a lot more popular, I think. And I think in South Korea it already is far more popular than the Veloster, but it's going to be really a shame. I'll save my eulogy for the Veloster N for when I know it's actually completely dead, but it's going to be sad to see the Veloster N go. It's one of my favorite cars of the past few years here. But anyway, so just a rumor though for now. We will hold out hope that maybe a miracle happens and they keep it around somehow. But anyway, interesting to hear that. And there's some rumors this week about the next generation Jeep Cherokee and how it could be the basis for a smaller Wagoneer, supposedly, as well. But first, we'll talk about the Cherokee here. So Motor Trend spoke with a couple of Jeep executives, with Jeep's president of North America being very vague, but saying the new Cherokee will be bigger and better than ever, but did admit that it is already under development. So at least we know that. I mean, the bigger and better than ever thing is, but we could say for basically any new generation of anything. So that's, no surprise there. But another Jeep executive added to the report that the new Cherokee will have a lot of electrification, but didn't go into specifics on what kind of electrification. But saying a lot of electrification means, to me, it'll probably be a plug-in hybrid. If it was going to be just electrification, it'd be like they'd probably just say it's going to be electrified and that's it, or that it'll be fully electric. Saying a lot of electrification means it's not entirely electrified, but more than a regular mild hybrid or something. So that's why I'm thinking plug-in hybrid is going to be the way they're going to do the new Cherokee here, which makes sense, because they're going to have the same deal for the Dodge Hornet, and the Alfa Romeo Tonale, and those types of vehicles, although this will be a little bit larger than those, but, chances are you're going to see similar, setups here going forward. And also, as far as the bigger and, the possibility of there being even a fully electric version, that is still on the cards. Because if you remember at the Stellantis EV Day last year, they teased what looked like a larger Cherokee, a little bit chunkier, that had, a full battery pack there on the floor. So they could just offer a full-blown electric version of it along with plug-in hybrid or something like that. We'll have to see. But anyway, that's what we know so far about the Cherokee here. But we also don't know when it's coming. I just know that it's in in development. But as far as when it actually comes to production, we'll have to wait and see. But sounds like it's not going to be super soon. But hopefully they hurry it up pretty quickly, because I mean the Cherokee's going to be 10 years old towards the end of next year. So it's getting close to that mark, and yeah, so it's getting very old, definitely needs, a redo, and so hopefully that comes here soon. When it does arrive, though, according to Mopar Insiders in their report, it will be spawning a new Wagoneer model that will most likely, they say, be on the STLA large platform, which is also set up for EVs. So not sure if that's suggesting it'll just be fully electric. Mopar Insider seems to think that probably is the case, but could be some type of plug-in hybrid or something as well. But beyond that, they just say it should be arriving around 2024 or 2025. I also don't know how they're going to do this from a branding standpoint without being super confusing. Because yes, they said that Wagoneer was going to become this sub-brand and it's separate from normal Jeeps, which is in itself a little bit unnecessary. Like no one has like the Durango as a separate thing, or there is no Navigator sub-brand for Lincoln or anything. Like it's nice and simple. Like there's a Wagoneer, there's a Grand Wagoneer. That's pretty straightforward enough. Now if they're going to add a third smaller Wagoneer, it won't actually be a Wagoneer, considering, everything that's Wagoneer based, as all the same truck based thing. So now you're going to have something else called a Wagoneer. Maybe they call it Wagoneer Sport or something, but it's going to be smaller. I feel like it's just going to be super confusing. Leave the Wagoneer alone. It's the big top thing. If you don't want to hurt the brand perception of Wagoneer, then keep it on those expensive vehicles and have some smaller thing be called something else. There's plenty of other Jeep heritage names they can use. I don't know. That's my own personal take. We'll see how they end up tackling that whole headache. But that's the plan currently, is there will be a baby Wagoneer somehow. But anyway, interesting to hear all that. Cadillac this week has revealed a couple teaser images here of the Celestiq concept once again. So previously we got some exterior teasers, now we get some interior teasers, and it's some close-ups here, but it shows some really cool touches like the center console here, the doors, the speaker grille there, and the seats, which I really am digging those seats. Not only do they have a very cool pattern in the leather, the way that it's kind of embossed and stitched and stuff, but even having the chrome brackets on the sides of the seats, that really harkens back to the vintage Cadillacs, in my opinion, of the 40s, 50s, 60s, all that kind of stuff, that all kind of had that. And that's something you don't see on modern vehicles these days, but I think that's a nice upmarket touch that really is going to distinguish this, which it's going to need, because there's rumors of this thing being $200,000. Cadillac did confirm it's going to be hand built. There's rumors it'll only be built in the couple of hundred vehicles every year, so could be something super high end like that. We'll see, but they did confirm it will be hand built, so it's going to limit it a good bit. But anyway, sounds like it's going to be very, very impressive. Cool to get those teasers. Looks like a full debut of this Celestiq concept, which should be pretty close to production, but will still be a concept. That's coming here at the end of July. So GM's going to have a busy end of July here with Colorado and the Celestiq here. But anyway, it looks super promising here, what we can see so far from the Celestiq. I'm excited for more of that. Volkswagen has also teased their electric sedan here that they're currently calling the ID.Aero. And so we see a few sketches of it here, and it looks very good so far. It'll be debuting next week on June 27th, and it'll be going on sale next year. Although it remains to be seen whether they keep that ID.Aero name or whether it just gets the ID.6 name. If this is going to be, something that's going to be on sale next year, you would think they would just come out with the name now and get everyone used to calling it the ID.6 or whatever. Instead, I don't know, but whatever this will be called, it will potentially be the replacement for the Passat, which has gone out of production now, and will take the place as the new Volkswagen sedan here, aside from the Jetta. So interesting to see that, and we'll see more next week. Hyundai also, getting back to them, they have finally shown off the XRT trim of the Palisade, which they announced at the New York Auto Show, but didn't actually show off at the New York Auto Show. So now we get to see it here, and it makes the Palisade look much more aggressive and rugged here. So maybe they're trying to steal a few sales away from the Kia Telluride. I've heard there's some internal rivalry between the two companies, and I think a lot of people prefer the Telluride styling for being more traditional SUV and aggressive, and I think that maybe Hyundai is trying to go after that a little bit here with this XRT trim. So It'll slide in between the SEL and limited trim, so kind of on the lower end of the spectrum here. And so along with the appearance stuff you see, it also gives you 20-inch wheels, a sunroof, and faux leather seats to kind of upgrade you beyond what an SEL normally has. It'll be available with either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, though, which goes to show you it's not a very aggressive off-road package or anything. It's really just an appearance thing. There's no extra ground clearance. There's no, any actual off-road stuff. The all-wheel drive system gives you the same stuff you get with any other Palisade, including hill descent control and a center lock there for the all-wheel drive system. But that's about it. So nothing to take too seriously here. But I think it should help, the Palisade to be a little bit more aggressive looking and pull in a few people that might be on the fence. And so all 2023 Palisades are also a little more expensive, with price increases ranging from $730 to $2,070 more, depending on the trim. And those should be arriving soon, so cool to see that. Pagani this week has revealed the Huayra Codalunga, which means long tail in Italian. I probably butchered the pronunciation. But Pagani doesn't say exactly how much longer this is, but the rear engine cover, they say, is 14.2 inches longer than a regular Huayra, and it hides an 840 horsepower version of the 6-liter AMG twin-turbo V12. It also does 811 pound-feet of torque, while also only weighing 2,820 pounds, which is actually 2 pounds less than a regular Huayra. So it's longer, but actually is a little bit lighter based on how they were really able to streamline everything and just simplify it as much as possible. And so Horatio Pagani says, "We drew inspiration from the long tails of the 1960s that raced at Le Mans. We have taken away rather than added. Simplifying is not at all straightforward, and this vehicle is, above all, the result of a complex pursuit of simple ideas." It was commissioned by 2 customers back in 2018 that wanted a long-tail version of the Huayra, and they will make up 2 of the lucky buyers, with only 5 Codalungas being built here at a price of $7.34 million each for these. At this point, it's like they're just commissioning art pieces, because maybe, some of those 5 owners will drive these vehicles a little bit, but it's really just going to be something that sits in a garage, especially when it's this rare and this expensive, which is really a shame. But hey, it's art. It's beautiful to look at. I think it's pretty good looking, although I honestly think a regular Huayra looks better. Let me know again what you think of that in the comments. But anyway, very cool to see nonetheless. And for the last news story here this week, the European Union, they've been pushing hard to completely do a total ban on internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035. And it sounded so far like, everyone in the EU was going along with that. And that was kind of just going to be the way it was going to be. But this week, Germany pushed back for the first time that I've seen, at least. And so they say the German government is not going to be supporting this legislation, with their justification being that they believe that there will continue to be niches of combustion engine vehicles, that are going to make sense to keep around. Mainly, we're talking about the high-end vehicles. And so I'm sure the second Germany spoke up, Italy probably rushed in like, yeah, just to save, Ferrari and Lamborghini, who are, probably doing cartwheels if this actually does pan out for them. Because if the EU does make exceptions for vehicles, it'll probably be on a very limited production basis. So how limited remains to be seen. I don't know if 1,000 cars is too much, or if it's something they're going to be able to do more or less. But it's kind of interesting that they're just kind of pushing back on the idea of a complete ban. Even though Ferrari just last week was like, we're going to do electric stuff, and Lamborghini saying they're going to do plug-in hybrid stuff as long as possible, but they are planning electric stuff as well. And Germany also did add that they're planning to support and have a mostly electric vehicle fleet, in any vehicle in Germany. And so, all the German car companies, obviously Volkswagen Group, and everyone is really getting heavy into the electrification. And those billions of dollars aren't going to just evaporate, even if the legislation does change. These investments are set in stone. These cars are already being developed. You can't just change that course on a dime. This stuff takes years to produce and years to even stop, even if you wanted to, So with the amount of money that's been invested, the electrification thing is definitely going to still happen. But if the EU finds some way to, allow some type of exceptions, we could see some stuff, maybe not even Ferrari and Lamborghini stuff, but maybe Pagani level stuff of still allowing them to build 5 Codalungas here, that are going to still burn, the e-fuels that we're going to have in the 2030s a little more commonly and stuff, things like that. I think is kind of what we're seeing here. Again, don't think that this means, woo, the EU is going to like allow people to, burn gas forever. I don't think that's the case, but it certainly makes sense. The 3 Paganis that are running around, even at Redline, are not going to be burning that much fuel as far as the grand goal of trying to reduce emissions. So I think that certainly makes sense. We'll see, how that pans out. But, again, could be very good news for, at least the exotic high-end stuff. It really is a bummer that it will most likely be limited to that high-end stuff. But that's something that, it seems like we're going to be seeing a trend of, as also gas gets more expensive and gasoline-powered vehicles, at least the performance ones getting more and more expensive, it's going to really be something that's going to shift more and more towards being a luxury thing for the rich, it seems, unfortunately. We'll have to see, but anyway, we'll keep our eye on that development, but interesting to hear that. And the last thing is I want to give a huge thank you to all of you who are members of the Matt Moran Motoring Club this week. I really appreciate your support. And this week I want to give a special thank you to the new member that joined, Big Timer 501. Huge thanks for joining. I hope you're enjoying the perks so far, and I appreciate all of you who are joining the channel here every week. It really, really does mean a lot, and I really do appreciate the support. If you also want to join in along with everybody else, you can click, there's a link in the description below to join. There's also buttons here on the video page and on the channel page if you're on a computer to join as well. But anyway, so that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.